Hello there everyone, and welcome to week 2 of Building Online Community with Social Media. I'd like to take a little bit of time here to summarize and reflect on some important elements of our first week of community building and get you warmed up for week 2. Last week you made a contribution to our collaborative Google presentation. How did that feel? This week you'll review the final product, and in a blog post in our new Ning network, you will reflect on how the images and stories shared by your classmates foster a sense of connection amongst your peers. As you review that final presentation this week, you'll be seeking out at least one student with whom you have something in common, because getting connected on a social level with your classmates is an important step in building community. And the Introducing Our BOCSM Crew activity, as well as the Me and Social Media discussion forum, were designed to help foster those connections. I think about these early threads of community as parallels to the conversations and the how you doing comments. Those are connections that get made in an offline classroom all the time so naturally as a class starts up or ends when the students are filtering in or filtering out. Those social connections play an important role in fostering a sense of belonging for individual students who learn at a distance and can feel isolated. When you are the facilitator of an icebreaker that involves a back and forth exchange like a discussion forum, the most critical thing is to ensure that each and every student in the class receives at least one reply. That's always something that I'm kind of keeping my eye on throughout the first week. Research has shown that students who participate in icebreakers and receive no contact from anyone begin the group experiencing a feeling of being left out and excluded, and that's definitely not a successful way to foster community. Collaborative and personalized learning activities, which will be a big component of this class, help keep students motivated week to week and engaged, which is the fuel to building a community of learners who work together and learn from and support one another throughout an entire course. Now I'd like to digress and share a story with you. One of the important concepts woven into week 2 is social presence. I had an epiphany about the importance of online social presence after I had been teaching online for about a year. It was a hot summer afternoon, and I was attending a graduation ceremony at the college where I was teaching. That semester, I had taught about half of my full-time teaching load online, and as I sat at the graduation listening to the names of students being called, and I know some of you can relate to this, I felt excitement and pride at the prospect of seeing my students in person, and that includes my face-to-face as well as my online students, and giving them a big congratulatory hug or handshake. Then the ceremony ended, and I, along with all my colleagues, stood and lined up along the walkway where the students were exiting the audience area. And it dawned upon me in the form of sadness and disappointment that I couldn't congratulate any of my online students because I wasn't able to recognize them. I also realized as I stood there that as they were walking right past me, they couldn't recognize me either. And that really bothered me. As a teacher, I understood how important those personal connections are for inspiring students to stay motivated and to encourage them to do their best and always follow their dreams after a class ends. That's the moment I identified a new goal for myself, to overcome that obstacle. For the year prior to that experience, I had been recording weekly voice announcements in the format of just MP3 audio files that were shared in my online class. I did that every week, and students liked it, and I thought it was going pretty well too. But I knew it was time to move on to video to enhance my social presence and foster more of those relevant personal connections between student and instructor that I missed. I began creating video announcements, just like the one you're watching now, by using my webcam that I had built into my laptop to record the weekly announcements that I had been recording as audio files. So all I did was created a free online account. At that time I was using a site called vidler.com, which is still around, but now I use YouTube because they've now integrated a webcam feature. So what I would do is type up my announcement in an application like Microsoft Word, open the document on my screen, log into my Vidler or my YouTube account, click record from webcam, and read the announcement off my screen. Just like I'm doing now, by the way. When I'm done, I save the video, add a description and a title, set the privacy option that I prefer, copy the embed code, and paste it into a content page in my course management system, Blackboard, Moodle, etc. This process is very helpful for instructors to master, and I find that when they do, they get really excited. When you use an external video share site like YouTube, by the way, the file size of your video is supported on the YouTube server, and the video appears seamlessly in your course without requiring students to leave the course and be tempted with all the unrelated video content on YouTube, because you know when they go there, it's probably not likely they come back very soon. I also made it a point to share the text transcript to ensure students had a choice in how they access the announcements. This was for 508 compliance, but also because I know there are some students who access our units from locations where audio and video is just very disruptive. Providing content in multiple types of formats is a principle of universal design for learning, a method for creating inclusive learning environments. My students loved the videos, by the way. I had one student at the end of the class who shared, "Seeing your face pop up every week was the best part of the class." Then at the end of that semester, I had more evidence of my success. I was driving my car into the parking lot on campus, and before I parked, a young man was walking right up to my car. And as I opened my door, he said, "Hey, you're Michelle. You were my online art appreciation instructor." And that was the success that I was looking for. He and I had a great conversation. And by the way, I immediately knew who he was too because of the photographs that he had added to his page in our Ning network. As we talked, I asked him how his new baby was, because I knew he had a new baby through what he had shared in Ning. And I also inquired about which museums he was going to be visiting in the coming months. He mentioned to me how much the video announcements helped him stay connected to our weekly content, and that was really the validation that I was looking for. Those video announcements take me only the time to record them and nothing more because the transcript is already done. So I encourage you to consider it, especially if they're playing a role in keeping you connected to our online class and helping you get to understand who I am and increasing my social presence as your instructor. This week you can download a handy guide that I created that includes steps for recording your own YouTube videos and embedding them in your CMS. And I should note, this is not in the guide, I just learned this recently. Blackboard 9.1, if you use 9.1, seems to have some hiccups with the new iframe embed code that YouTube uses. And it's best to copy the old embed code from YouTube. And you'll see an option to use the old embed code, that's what it's called, when you click on embed in YouTube. Okay, so look for that. So circling back to our class, the Voicethread discussion from week 1 is looking fantastic at the time of this recording. I do leave comments in the voice threads in response to some of your questions. If I miss anything, please bring them to my attention in the Q&A. I do my best to stay on top of content, but there's a lot of it, particularly in this class. So, you know, it's very likely that I could miss something. So if I do, bring it to my attention elsewhere. Also, as you know, Voicethread, as you get to know Voicethread better and better, you're probably going to find yourself viewing it as some type of replacement for a discussion board. That's really common. In my opinion, it's not an accurate description of Voicethread, though, and attempting to fit it into the mold of a discussion board or discussion forum actually detracts from its uniqueness and its strengths. The type of learning activities that are most effective in a Voicethread do not translate directly to those you would craft in a discussion forum, as there's really no clear way to foster the back and forth or the threaded discussion between users in a Voicethread. It's really kind of a flat, sequential conversation. And you'll start to grasp what I mean as you use it more. Instead, I find that Voicethread is most effective for reflective conversations, critiques, about media that appears in the center. It could be an image, a PowerPoint slide, or a video, or some kind of assessment of a proficiency of a student. You as the activity creator could be placing the emphasis on an individual response rather than a back and forth exchange. So think about that as you design an activity for Voicethread. It's important to understand the unique characteristics of any tool before designing a learning activity with it and understanding where it could align with your learning objectives. So let this sit for a while as you continue to play with Voicethread and think about how it could support your students' learning objectives. This week, we move further into our community building journey by tapping into the topics of social presence and personalized learning a little bit further. I hope you enjoy this week's book, Can You Feel It?, and are energized by the next social media tools we'll explore and evaluate, which are Ning and Twitter. This week, you'll join a closed Ning network, closed meaning private, that I've created for us to explore. Again, imagine yourself as a student in an online class, being provided with this network by your instructor as a space to connect, communicate, and socialize with classmates. But remember, it's private. But more importantly, think critically about how you can use the tools within Ning to achieve the learning objectives within your own class. For example, each member in Ning has his or her own page that includes a blog. How could you incorporate a weekly or regular writing assignment into a semester-long blog project? The blog in Ning allows for multimedia content sharing, not just writing. So think about ways you could have your students share videos and images that demonstrate proficiencies or create additional content streams for your course. Ning has been a favorite of mine for many years. It started as a free service, but now it's paid or premium. The free stuff has gone away. But through the support of Pearson, you can now get a free Ning mini network for educational use, and that's for North America only. Pearson is approving free Ning mini networks for use in higher education and K-12 in North America. I'm not sure when that's going to end, but it is still in place. Our network is an example of a mini network funded by Pearson. And the best part to me is that now the annoying advertisements that used to be in the free Nings are gone. And that makes me happy. If you want to learn how to create your own Pearson-funded Ning Mini, please check out the discussion forum I created in Ning on this topic. You'll find it on the main page in Ning. It could be something that you might want to use to help create a space for you and your colleagues to share and discuss and connect and kind of keep the discussion about this course going after it's over. So have a terrific week. I am certainly here for you. If you have any questions, please contact me directly or share them in the Q&A forum if it's appropriate.